My thanks and gratitude to you all. And by way of concluding this, we'd like to say as South Africa, the global community is faced by several formidable and related issues. And a number of them are poverty, unemployment, food insecurity, inequality, environmental degradation, and climate change. The complexity of these challenges does call for enhanced action. Resilience is not merely about recovery after a disaster or crisis. It is about foresight, shared responsibility, and sustainable development. A resilient world can only be achieved through inclusive economic growth, strengthening global partnerships, and reforming international institutions. It means we must be prepared. We must, as a matter of urgency, integrate disaster risk reduction into macroeconomic policies, climate financing, and sustainable infrastructure development. We must also ensure that vulnerable countries and communities have equitable access to technologies, to finance, and the capacity to anticipate and withstand future shocks. As we look ahead, South Africa believes that our collective efforts should focus on three imperatives. Firstly, we must strengthen global early warning systems. For many countries, this means scaling up of investments in data, in technology, and capacity to reach the most vulnerable communities that may be exposed to danger. Second, we must mobilize innovative finance for resilience. The G20 should champion accessible, practicable, and equitable disaster risk financing instruments. We need to pool risk, mobilize anticipatory funding, and forge public-private partnerships. And thirdly, we must mainstream disaster risk reduction into all sectors of economic planning, from energy and infrastructure to agriculture and urban development as well. Sustainable, balanced, and inclusive growth requires that we must take measures to address the severe imbalance in vulnerability to the increasing effects of climate change. Now, those countries most affected by severe weather events are often those that bear the least responsibility for climate change. This threatens to further deepen inequality between and within countries. Developing economies need resources and technical partnerships for effective adaptation. We need to make good on our commitments to fund loss and damage caused by climate change. And as 2025 marks the 10th anniversary of the Paris Agreement, we recognize its historic contribution to fostering universal climate action. And yet, global temperatures continue to climb. We have no choice but to fully effectively implement what we agreed to implement, and its temperature goal. In doing so, we must hold fast to the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. Just transition pathways are key enablers for climate action. These should encompass a whole of economy and a whole of society approach. In the face of persistent hunger and escalating climate pressures, we face a sobering reality. According to the Food and Agricultural Organization, as many as 700 million people are experiencing hunger worldwide. Excessive food price volatility continues to undermine purchasing power, especially for low-income communities. But we must applaud the G20 for continuously keeping food security at the center of the developmental agenda. South Africa made food security one of the priorities of its G20 presidency, building on the excellent work of previous presidencies, including the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty established under the Brazilian presidency. Platforms such as Agriculture Working Group, meeting of agricultural chief scientists, and the Food Security Task Force have delivered outcomes that underscore what we believe is the importance of building inclusive, diverse, and resilient, sustainable food systems. Since it was formed at a time of crisis, the G20 and the world has had to confront several crises. Unless we act now to build resilience and sustainability, the crises we face tomorrow will be more devastating, more damaging, and more lasting, as we have already heard from a number of speakers who stood to speak here. Now, that concludes our day today, and I think the day has gone extremely well, and we finished more or less on time. We left with one session, which is tomorrow, the third session, which is really a short session, just a half-day session. We now have an opportunity to have dinner together and to relax and to let our hair down. Those who have long hair, and me, let my hair up so that we are able to mix and amongst each other and get to know each other rather well. We will now get an announcement of where we should go, and thereafter, that will be the end of the evening. We expect that this will just take 2 hours, and by 9 p.m. we should all be departing for the various places where we are going to rest. So thank you very much. Let's give ourselves a round of applause for the wonderful day we've spent.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we invite the heads of state and government